So, when you think of a saint, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably someone from way, way back, right? Maybe a monk or a mystic in some old painting. I'm guessing you're not picturing a teenager in a tracksuit who loved playing video games and coding websites. Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of the very first millennial saint. Just let that sink in for a second. All people are born as originals, but many die as photocopies. Wow. That's a really powerful idea, especially coming from a teenager. So, who do you think said that? The person behind that quote? A young man named Carlo Acutis. And really, his entire life became this living example of those words. He sort of represents this whole new kind of holiness, one that's all about making the choice every single day to live as an original in an age of digital copies. And, what's so amazing about Carlo is just how normal he was. He was a gamer, a self-taught computer programmer, a huge soccer fan. He wore Nikes, he wore jeans. He was, for all intents and purposes, a typical kid from the early 2000s who was totally plugged into this new digital world that was just starting to take off. And get this, in the year 2025, Carlo Acutis is set to be officially recognized as a saint by the Catholic Church. This actually makes him the first millennial, someone who literally grew up with the internet, to receive this title. So how on earth did this computer-loving teenager get here? Well, it all comes back to that one big idea of being an original. So, okay, how did he do it? It all started with this deep commitment to that idea of being born an original. For him, this wasn't just some catchy phrase. It was basically the central philosophy of his short life. It was his way of fighting back against the pressure to just become another photocopy. So for Carlo, being an original really meant not getting swept up in all the fleeting trends or what everyone else was doing. It was about digging deep, figuring out who you were really meant to be, and then having the guts to live that out. For real, every single day. And this is the flip side of that. He saw a real danger in the world around him. He felt that all these pressures to conform, which were getting supercharged by media and the internet, were causing people to lose what made them special, to become these kind of dull copies of each other instead of the vibrant, unique originals they were born as. So this brings up a really fascinating question, right? How does a philosophy about being an original fit into the digital world that he loved so much? Well, instead of rejecting technology, Carlo completely embraced it. He basically turned the internet into a tool for finding holiness in our digital age. And that is a huge deal. Pope Francis himself looked at Carlo's life and saw a blueprint for how to be a person of faith and integrity in the super-connected world we all live in now. See, he wasn't a saint despite his love for technology, he was a saint through it. The way he saw it, technology presents us with two different paths. You've got the photocopy path, which is all about passive scrolling, chasing trends, and just conforming to whatever's popular. But then you've got the original path that he chose, using tech to create, to connect with people in a meaningful way, and, for him, to catalog miracles and spread his faith. So his legacy isn't some warning to stay away from technology. It's the opposite. It's a positive message. It shows us a way to jump into the digital world not as a trap or a distraction, but as a seriously powerful tool for doing good, for being creative, and for living with a real sense of purpose. But what was it that fueled this incredible focus in someone so young? I mean, where did all that conviction come from? It all came from what he called his highway to heaven. This was the ultimate source of his motivation. This right here is probably Carlo's most famous quote. For him, his Catholic faith wasn't just, a part of his life. It was the whole operating system. The Eucharist, which is a central sacrament in Catholicism, was his direct line to God, his fast lane, his highway to heaven. I mean, it doesn't get much simpler or clearer than that, does it? There's no complicated 5-year plan here. His entire life's ambition was boiled down to this one simple, incredibly powerful goal. This deep faith was the engine that drove him. It's the reason he spent years building a website to document Eucharistic miracles from all over the world. It's why he'd spent his allowance on sleeping bags for the homeless people in his neighborhood. His online life and his offline life were powered by the exact same source. So at the end of the day, what is the legacy that this gamer saint leaves behind for us? His life offers a really powerful message for modern life, one that we can actually apply right now. He had a very, very simple formula for happiness. He believed that sadness comes from looking at ourselves all the time, just being totally self-absorbed with our own problems and what we want. Happiness, on the other hand, comes from looking outward and upward toward a purpose that's way bigger than ourselves. So, if we were to just boil it all down, his path looks something like this. First, embrace what makes you unique, your original self. Don't hide it. Second, take what you love, gaming, coding, art, sports, whatever it is, and point that passion toward a higher purpose. And third, find what gives you that ultimate direction. Find your own highway to heaven. Ultimately, the story of Carlo Acutis leaves all of us with a challenge. In a world that is constantly pushing us to conform, to just keep scrolling, to become photocopies of each other, his life asks a very direct question. How will you choose to live as an original?